The day began not with the gentle chirping of birds or the soft glow of dawn filtering through the blinds, but with the thunderous spirit-binding prayers of Auntie Chinyere. In the heart of their small, cluttered Atlanta apartment, she stood as a formidable general before her bubbling pot of stew, clad in magnificent multicolored Ankara fabric that seemed to give her spiritual authority over all things edible. Her voice, a powerful instrument of divine warfare, ricocheted off the kitchen walls, casting out any freeloading spirits with culinary intentions.
Holy ghost fire! Arrest any spirit of poverty that wants to eat this food and not pay the rent. Any demon of I will pay you tomorrow that is eyeing my chicken, I bind you in Jesus' name.
From the dark sanctuary of his bedroom emerged Ebuka, a figure of profound sleepiness, his head adorned with a bright pink shower cap like a strange, deflated crown. He shuffled into the kitchen, drawn by the spiritual commotion, blinking against the light and the sheer force of his aunt's morning sermon. He leaned against the doorframe, a weary soldier returning from the long-fought battle of a good night's sleep. "Auntie, he mumbled, his voice thick with slumber. "Please now, take it easy. Even the stew is looking scared inside the pot. You will pray until the chicken surrenders and walks out by itself. What is all this commotion so early in the morning?"
Ebuka, you have woken up? Or is it your ghost that is roaming around my kitchen looking for free food? Instead of you to join me and cover this household in prayer, you are here talking about a scared stew. Let me tell you, in this America, if you don't pray with fire, the bills will consume you with brimstone. Go and remove that silly cap from your head.
Ebuka sighed, a long, drawn-out sound of resignation that was all too familiar in this household. He knew better than to argue with his aunt when she was in her spiritual element, a state that seemed to coincide with cooking, cleaning, and paying bills. He slid into a chair at the small kitchen table, the plastic groaning under his weight. "Okay, Auntie, I have heard you," he conceded, pulling the shower cap from his head and tossing it onto the counter. "But please, can you reduce the volume? I think the neighbors are already saying amen from their own apartment. One day the police will come here thinking we are running an illegal church service." With the spiritual energy in the kitchen slightly lowered from a volcanic eruption to a mere simmer, Ebuka pulled out his phone, his portal to a world far removed from Auntie Chinwere's rent-focused prayers. His eyes, still puffy with sleep, scanned the bright screen, his thumb scrolling past family WhatsApp group messages and endless reels of dancing influencers. He was searching for something more, a sign, a digital prophecy that would deliver him from his current state of brokenness and into the promised land of financial freedom. The aroma of the spiritually fortified stew filled the air, a constant reminder of the very rent he was currently unable to contribute to. He needed a plan, a hustle, a miracle delivered via Wi-Fi. His search led him, as it often did, to the hallowed halls of YouTube University, the world's foremost institution for get-rich-quick schemes and questionable life advice. The algorithm, sensing his desperation, presented him with a video. The thumbnail was flashy, a smiling man leaning against a luxury car with bold yellow text screaming, "How I make $1,000 a day driving for Uber in Atlanta." Ebuka's eyes widened. He leaned in closer, his entire posture shifting from sleepy observer to captivated disciple. The man in the video spoke with the confidence of someone who had unlocked all of America's secrets, promising that a car, a smartphone, and a little bit of grit were all one needed to swim in an ocean of dollars. "En?" Ebuka exclaimed, the sound startling Auntie Chinyere, who was now meticulously arranging the chicken pieces in her stew. $1,000? A day? Just for driving a car around? He replayed the intro just to be sure his ears weren't deceiving him. The YouTuber, whose name was Cash Money Kenny, broke it down with impressive-looking charts and fast-paced cuts. Ebuka was mesmerized. This was it. This was the sign he had been waiting for. He imagined himself as the star of his own success story. "That's how they do it," he whispered to himself, his mind racing. "This is how Davido must have made his first $1 million when he came to America. It is the secret hustle." The YouTube video wasn't just a video, it was a revelation, a digital sermon delivered by a prophet named Cash Money Kenny. Ebuka watched, utterly transfixed, as this guru of the gig economy explained the simple, elegant path to riches. The screen showed montages of smiling passengers, stacks of cash, and the satisfying chime of a new ride request. Kenny spoke with the smooth, unwavering confidence of a man who had never had to dodge his auntie's questions about rent money. He made it all sound so easy, so effortless. "It's not just driving," Kenny declared. "It's about being your own boss, controlling your destiny, and tapping into the billion-dollar transportation market." Ebuka nodded along as if he were in church, absorbing every word of this new gospel. He replayed the part about daily earnings 3 more times, just to let the number sink into his very soul. $1,000 per day. He did the quick math in his head, his eyes glazing over with the sheer possibility of it all. In 1 week, he could make more than his auntie made in 3 months of her back-breaking nursing assistant job. In a month, he could buy his own car, maybe even a flashy one like Cash Money Kenny's. He could send money home, not just the small amounts that barely covered anything, but enough to make the elders in the village give him a new chieftaincy title. Chief Ebuka, the dollar rainmaker of Atlanta. He muttered dreamily, a wide, foolish grin plastered on his face. This was more than just a hustle. It was a calling. It was the American dream, packaged and delivered through a 5-inch screen. He felt a surge of energy, a powerful conviction that this was his purpose. All the suffering, all the struggles of coming to a new country, all the mornings spent listening to Auntie Chinwe's fire and brimstone prayers. It had all been leading to this moment of clarity. He felt like one of the disciples, hearing the good news for the first time and feeling his life's trajectory shift on its axis. He was no longer just Ebuka, the sleepy nephew in the pink shower cap. He was Ebuka, the aspiring transportation mogul.
Ebuka, what is making you smile like a goat that has seen a new yam festival? Are you watching those useless comedy skits again?
Ebuka quickly wiped the grin off his face, adopting a serious, thoughtful expression. No, Auntie, he said with profound gravity. I am researching economic empowerment strategies for the modern immigrant. It is very serious business. Auntie Chinwe eyed him suspiciously before turning back to her stew, satisfied for the moment that he wasn't wasting his time, unaware that he was, in fact, plotting a grand heist of her vehicle. The decision was made. The spirit of the hustle had descended upon him, and now all he needed was the vessel. His eyes, now sharp and focused, locked onto the target Auntie Chinwe's car keys. They were sitting innocently on the kitchen counter, nestled between a half-eaten banana and a stack of overdue bills, completely unaware of the grand destiny that awaited them. To Ebuka, they were no longer just a simple tool for starting a 2004 Toyota Camry. They were the scepter of opportunity, the holy grail of the gig economy, the key that would unlock the very vaults of American prosperity. He knew he had to acquire them, but the operation required stealth and precision. His aunt was his biggest obstacle. She guarded those keys with the ferocity of a dragon guarding its treasure hoard. She had a sixth sense for when someone was about to use her car, often knowing before the person had even fully formed the thought. Ebuka watched her every move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He needed a distraction, something that would draw her complete and undivided attention away from the counter. He scanned the room, his mind racing through various scenarios. Should he fake a coughing fit? Accidentally drop a plate? Start a theological debate about the appropriate level of spice in jollof rice? The options were endless, but the risk was immense. The opportunity presented itself in the form of the telephone. The landline, a relic from a bygone era that Auntie Chinwe refused to give up, rang with a shrill, piercing sound. She picked it up, her voice immediately switching to a high-pitched, gossipy tone.
Sister Nkechi, is that you?
It was the call he had been praying for. Conversations with Sister Nkechi were legendary. They were marathons of information exchange that could last longer than a feature-length Nollywood movie. This was his window. With the stealth of a cat burglar, Ebuka rose from his chair, his movements slow and deliberate, his eyes never leaving the prize. He tiptoed across the linoleum floor, each step a carefully calculated risk. The floorboard creaked, and he froze, his heart pounding in his chest like an Afrobeats drum solo. Auntie Chinwe, deep in her conversation about someone's cousin's daughter's scandalous wedding, didn't notice. He reached the counter, his hand hovering over the keys. His fingers brushed against the fuzzy keychain. It was now or never. With one swift, silent motion, he plucked the keys from the counter and slipped them into the pocket of his sweatpants. He had secured the artifact. Phase 1 of Operation American Hustle 101 was a resounding success. He felt a jolt of adrenaline, a mix of terror and triumph. Possessing the keys was one thing, becoming the part was another. Ebuka knew that to succeed as an Uber driver, he couldn't just be Ebuka. He had to embody the persona of a successful, professional, 5-star chauffeur. So he retreated to his room, the sacred keys clutched in his hand, and began his transformation. First, the wardrobe. He rummaged through his closet, pushing past the casual t-shirts and the traditional Nigerian attire his mother had packed for him. He needed something, that screamed, "I am a serious businessman who can be trusted with your transportation needs." He finally settled on a slightly too tight button-down shirt and a pair of black trousers that were, honestly, a little too short at the ankles. Next came the accessories. No self-respecting American hustler would be caught without the proper gear. He found a pair of cheap, oversized sunglasses he'd bought from a street vendor, the kind that made him look like a celebrity trying to avoid the paparazzi. He put them on, instantly feeling his coolness factor increase by at least 50%. Then he doused himself in his special occasion cologne, a pungent, musky scent he had purchased from a discount store. He used so much that the air in his small room became thick with the aroma of ambition. He looked at his reflection in the cracked mirror on his wall, practicing his Uber driver smile, a confident yet welcoming expression. He knew the car itself also needed to be prepared for its new role as a mobile office. Auntie Chinwe's Camry, while reliable, was more of a rolling storage unit than a luxury vehicle. Ebuka snuck out to the parking lot and began a frantic cleaning session. He threw out old fast food wrappers, crumpled church bulletins, and at least 3 years' worth of receipts from the glove compartment. He found a half-empty bottle of water and an old rag, and gave the dashboard a hasty wipe down, mostly just smearing the dust around. He even placed a single lonely air freshener, shaped like a pine tree, on the rear-view mirror, hoping it would overpower the lingering scent of his auntie's egusi soup. His preparations complete, he sat in the driver's seat, the engine humming softly. This was it, the cockpit of his new enterprise. He took a deep breath, the combined scent of cheap cologne and pine tree air freshener filling his lungs. He felt ready. He pulled out his phone and with trembling fingers typed Uber sign up into the search bar. The app was downloaded, the forms were filled out, with some creative interpretations of his driving history, and he was ready to go online. He was no longer just Ebuka with his auntie's car, he was an official independent contractor, a player in the great American game. America, he said to his reflection in the rearview mirror, adjusting his shades, today is the day you will know my name. With a final dramatic flick of his wrist, Ebuka switched his status on the Uber app to online. A small icon on his phone screen turned green, and a gentle chime confirmed that he was now officially open for business. He felt a surge of nervous excitement, the kind you get just before a major exam you haven't studied for. He gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles turning white. Any second now, a request would come through. A dot representing a paying customer would appear on his map, and his journey to making $1,000 would begin. The silence in the car was deafening, broken only by the low hum of the engine and the frantic beating of his own heart. He waited and waited. 1 minute turned into 5. 5 minutes turned into 10. The initial adrenaline began to fade, replaced by a creeping sense of doubt. Was his phone working? Did he park in the right spot? Maybe Cash Money Kenny had lied. Maybe there were no passengers in all of Atlanta. He started driving aimlessly around the block, thinking maybe he had to be in motion to attract a fare, like a shark that has to keep swimming to breathe. Come on now, he muttered to his phone. Somebody must need to go somewhere. Is everybody in this city walking today? Ah! He was about to give up and go back inside when it happened. Ping! The sound was so loud and sudden that he nearly jumped out of his skin, almost swerving into a row of parked cars. A notification flashed across his screen. New ride request. David, 5 minutes away. His heart leaped into his throat. This was it. His first customer. His first injection of American currency. He fumbled with the screen, his fingers slick with sweat, and managed to press accept. The GPS immediately started barking instructions at him in a calm, robotic female voice. In 200 feet, turn left, she said. Ebuka, in his panic, immediately turned right, onto a busy street going in the opposite direction. No, no, no! He yelled, wrestling with the steering wheel, as the GPS lady calmly announced, rerouting. He finally managed to get the car turned around, his face beaded with perspiration despite the car's air conditioning blasting at full power. He was already failing, and he hadn't even picked up the passenger yet. He followed the new route, his eyes darting between the road and the map on his phone. He eventually pulled up to the designated spot, a full 10 minutes after accepting the ride. A man in a sharp business suit stood on the curb, tapping his foot impatiently and staring at his phone with a deep frown. Ebuka put on his best Uber smile, rolled down the window, and called out, "My brother David, your chariot has arrived."
The man in the suit, David, did not look pleased. His sharp, expensive attire seemed to clash with the well-worn interior of Auntie Chinwe's 2004 Toyota Camry. He opened the back door with a sigh of resignation and slid onto the seat, bringing with him an air of corporate urgency that immediately filled the small car. "Downtown, please," he said, his voice clipped and devoid of any warmth. "And I'm already late, so let's make it quick."
Ebuka, still buzzing from the drama of just finding the man, beamed at him in the rearview mirror, his oversized sunglasses still firmly in place. "No problem, my good sir. Downtown it is. We shall move with the speed of a cheetah chasing its lunch."
David grunted in response, already buried in his phone, clearly uninterested in Ebuka's safari-themed promises of speed.
Ebuka, meanwhile, was faced with his first real challenge. The GPS had the destination plugged in, but the name downtown felt vague, almost mythical. He had heard the term in movies and on the news, but in his mind, it was less a specific location and more of a general concept, like overseas or the countryside. He stared at the map on his phone, a confusing web of blue lines and tiny street names. To him, every part of Atlanta that wasn't his auntie's apartment complex felt like a potential downtown. He turned to his passenger for clarification, a move he immediately felt might undermine his professional image. "My brother David," Ebuka began, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper as if he were sharing a secret. "This, your downtown. Which one is it exactly? Is it the one after Uptown, or is it the one that is beside the sideways town? You know these American cities. They have so many towns inside one town. If you are not careful, you will end up in a different town altogether."
David slowly looked up from his phone, his expression a perfect blend of disbelief and irritation. He stared at Ebuka for a long moment, as if trying to decipher a complex riddle. The silence hung heavy in the air, thick with the scent of pine tree air freshener and shattered confidence. "What?" David finally asked, his voice flat. "Just follow the GPS, the blue line. Take me to the address on the app."
Ebuka let out a nervous laugh, trying to play off his geographical ignorance as a joke. "Ah yes, the GPS. Of course, I was just testing you, my good man. A good driver must always confirm the destination with his esteemed passenger." He declared this, turning his attention back to the road with a renewed, albeit fragile, sense of purpose. He pressed the accelerator a little too hard, causing the old Camry to lurch forward, making David's head snap back slightly. The maiden voyage had officially hit choppy waters, and they hadn't even left the neighborhood yet. Following the blue line on the GPS turned out to be far more challenging than Ebuka had anticipated. The calm, robotic voice of the GPS lady seemed to exist in a different dimension from the chaotic reality of Atlanta traffic. She would say, "In 500 feet, merge left," but there would be a solid wall of angry, honking cars refusing to let him in. Ebuka would grip the steering wheel, his eyes wide with terror, muttering please under his breath. "Please, just a small space. I am a hustler. I am trying to make a living." Of course, the other drivers could not hear him and would only glare as he drifted nervously near their lane. His passenger, David, was becoming increasingly agitated in the back seat. Every sudden break, every hesitant turn, and every near miss with another vehicle caused him to let out a sharp, frustrated sigh. He had abandoned his phone and was now staring out the window, his jaw clenched so tight it looked like he was trying to crack a walnut with his teeth. Ebuka, sensing the growing tension, decided that some pleasant conversation might ease the mood. This was a classic customer service technique he had learned from another YouTube video titled, "Boost Your Uber Ratings with Small Talk." It was time to deploy his advanced social skills to salvage the situation. "So my brother David, this your suit is very sharp. Are you a big man, a CEO, or perhaps a secret agent on a mission?"
"I'm a junior account manager, and I'm about to be a fired junior account manager if I don't get to this meeting."
The response was so blunt and devoid of humor that it sucked all the air out of the car. Ebuka's smile faltered for a second before he quickly pasted it back on. Clearly the topic of work was too stressful. He needed to pivot to something more universal. "Ah, I see. The corporate hustle. It is a battlefield. Let me play you some music to calm your spirit. Music is the food of the soul, you know." Before David could protest, Ebuka fumbled with the car's old radio, which was stuck on a station that seemed to play nothing but commercials for personal injury lawyers. After a few seconds of static and loud advertisements, he managed to connect his phone via a crackling auxiliary cord. A blast of high-energy Afrobeats music suddenly filled the car, complete with loud drums and a blaring saxophone. David winced and pressed his fingers to his temples, a man utterly defeated by his transportation choice. Just as Ebuka was starting to feel the rhythm, convinced that the infectious beat of Burna Boy could solve any problem, he received another ride request. Ping! The notification flashed on his screen, offering a pooled ride, an opportunity to pick up another passenger along the same route. His eyes lit up. More passengers meant more money. This was exactly what Cash Money Kenny had talked about in the advanced hustle section of his video. Without a moment's hesitation, and without consulting his current visibly distressed passenger, Ebuka enthusiastically accepted the new fare. The new passenger could not have been more different from David. He was a young man with long flowing dreadlocks, wearing a tie-dye shirt and Birkenstock sandals. As he slid into the back seat next to David, he brought with him the faint, earthy scent of patchouli oil.
Greetings, fellow travelers on this cosmic journey. The universe has brought us together in this sacred vessel. What a beautiful moment.
David scooted as far away as he could, pressing himself against the car door as if trying to merge with it. Ebuka, however, was intrigued. This was a much better vibe.
I can feel your energy, driver. You're a seeker, a man on a quest. This isn't just a car, it's your chariot of discovery, isn't it?
Yes, my brother Rain. You have seen my spirit. I am on a quest for the American dream, a quest for $1,000 a day.
Money is just condensed energy, my friend. You're not chasing dollars, you're chasing alignment with the flow of the universe.
While Ebuka and Rain were deep in their philosophical discussion about cosmic energy and financial alignment, David was quietly having a complete meltdown in his corner of the back seat. He kept checking his watch, his leg bouncing up and down uncontrollably. The Afrobeats music was still playing. Rain was talking about the vibrational frequency of currency, and the GPS was now rerouting to pick up Rain's destination, adding another 15 minutes to the trip. David looked like a man who was questioning every single decision he had ever made in his life that had led him to this specific, surreal moment in time, trapped in a Toyota Camry with a wannabe hustler and a modern-day mystic. Feeling emboldened by his new spiritually aligned passenger, Ebuka started driving with a renewed but honestly, dangerously misplaced confidence. He was no longer just a driver, he was a captain of cosmic energy, a chauffeur of destiny. He began to see the GPS not as a set of rigid instructions, but as a series of gentle suggestions from the universe. The GPS wants me to turn right, my brother Rain, but my spirit is telling me that the energy flows more freely to the left. The left path feels more prosperous.
You must always trust your intuition, my friend. The map of the heart is more true than any map of the road.
This was all the encouragement Ebuka needed, ignoring the frantic rerouting. From the GPS lady, he made a sharp, decisive left turn onto a quiet-looking street. It seemed like a brilliant shortcut. The road was clear, there was no traffic, and for a moment, Ebuka felt like a genius. He had outsmarted the system, beaten the traffic, and followed the flow of the universe, all at the same time. He glanced in the rearview mirror, a triumphant smile on his face. You see, the universe provides.
That's a one-way street.
Ebuka's eyes widened as he finally processed the scene in front of him. All the parked cars were facing him. The street signs had big, undeniable arrows pointing directly at his Camry. Far in the distance, he could see the headlights of an approaching car. His heart plummeted into his stomach. The prosperous, free-flowing energy he had felt just moments before had curdled into the sour milk of pure terror. Blood of Jesus. He slammed on the brakes. The car screeched to a halt in the middle of the empty lane. The Afrobeats music suddenly sounded less like a party anthem and more like a soundtrack to his impending doom. What do we do? What do we do?
Breathe, my friend. This is merely a test from the cosmos, a challenge to see if you can remain centered in the face of chaos.
Reverse the car, you idiot!
The approaching headlights were getting closer and closer, and the serene, empty street was about to become the scene of a very awkward, very avoidable head-on collision. Just as Ebuka debated if R meant reverse or run, a police siren cut through the air, every immigrant's nightmare. The wail grew louder, echoing down the one-way street. Ebuka froze, mind blank, dreams of riches gone.
They have come for me. My American dream is finished.
Panic fused the siren with the Afrobeat still blasting, turning the woo-woo into a wild remix in his head.
DJ Law and Order on the beat. Officer Jones, another banger?
Ebuka's eyes darted for escape, but there was none.
I'm gonna lose my job, my life is ruined.
That's the sound of authority. Flow with it.
Ebuka was not flowing. He was sinking. The police car's lights bathed the Camry in red and blue.
Driver of the Toyota Camry, pull over and turn off the engine.
The flashing lights painted Ebuka's face in doom. He killed the engine. Silence fell. The officer approached, stone-faced.
License, registration, and proof of insurance, please.
Ebuka's mind blanked. He fumbled for documents, hands shaking, napkins flying.
Yes, officer, sir. Good afternoon, sir. How is your day, sir?
He handed over his auntie's papers and his Nigerian license, grinning desperately.
Son, do you know why I pulled you over?
Yes, sir. The one-way street. A trickster spirit led me astray, but I have found it now.
The officer blinked, processing the supernatural confession. As the officer ran his info, Ebuka realized he had to call Auntie Chinyere before the police did. He ducked behind a dumpster, phone trembling in hand.
Ebuka, why are you calling? Are you not supposed to be studying?
Auntie, I have a small situation, a minor problem.
What kind of problem? Where are you?
I'm outside, doing practical research for my economic plan. The car has a small issue.
You took my car? You stole my Toyota? Ebuka, are you telling me you stole my car?
It's not stealing, it's borrowing for the hustle, but I think I have entered problem.
Uber? You are using my car for Uber? Don't come back to this house.
The line went dead. The call left Ebuka hollow. The threat of village people was real.
The officer's voice snapped him back. I'm not arresting you, but you can't drive this car. It's getting towed.
Towed. The word echoed. He'd lost his auntie's car to the city impound.
David looked 10 years older. Rain just smiled.
The universe has ended our journey in this vessel.
The three watched the Camry get towed, the pine tree air freshener swinging in defeat.
David called another Uber, praying for a sane driver.
Rain patted Ebuka's shoulder. Every ending is a new beginning, he said, wandering off. Ebuka was alone, miles from home, broke and carless. He started walking, each step a reminder of his foolishness. The American dream, it turned out, could get your auntie's car towed. Dusk. Ebuka arrived home, looking like a defeated soldier. Auntie Chinwe sat at the table, silent, stew cold. He placed the ticket and tow sticker on the table.
So, Mr. Economic Empowerment, how much did you make? Did you get your $1,000?
Ebuka did the math. Fines, towing, spiritual hit squad fees. Ebuka, narrator. The $1,000 per day. It's not profit. It's negative $240, plus towing. He looked up at his aunt. Ebuka, narrator. Now who sent me this kind of hustle? Auntie Chinwe just shook her head, defeated by her nephew's foolishness. The American hustle had chewed Ebuka up and spat him out, broke and humbled. The silence in the apartment was a heavy blanket, thick with the smell of cold stew and shattered dreams. Ebuka stood before his auntie like a criminal awaiting sentencing, the architect of his own spectacular downfall. Auntie Chinwe finally turned to face him, her eyes not filled with the fire and brimstone he expected, but with a profound bone-deep weariness that was somehow much worse. She picked up the parking ticket, examining it as if it were a strange alien artifact. She read the violation, the fine, and the due date, her lips moving silently. Each detail seemed to add another layer of disappointment to her expression, weighing her down.
So, Mr. Uber driver, Mr. Transportation Mogul, you took my car, my only car, to go and chase a ghost you saw on the internet. You drove it on the wrong side of the road like someone who has been possessed by a spirit of confusion. You allowed the police to drag it away like a common criminal, and you have returned to my house with nothing but this expensive piece of pink paper. Is this the summary of your economic empowerment plan? Is this the great American hustle you were researching on your phone this morning?
Ebuka could only nod, his head hung in shame. Every word was a perfectly aimed arrow hitting its mark. He had no defense, no witty comeback, no script to follow. The bravado he had felt just hours before, fueled by cheap sunglasses and discount cologne, had completely evaporated, leaving behind only the bitter residue of failure. He felt small, like a child who had been caught with his hand in the cookie jar, except the cookie jar was a Toyota Camry, and the cookies were his auntie's trust and patience, both of which he had now completely devoured without permission. Ebuka, narrator. Auntie, I am sorry. I just wanted to make money. I wanted to help. The man on the video made it look so easy. He was smiling, auntie. He was smiling and counting dollars. He did not show the part where the police come, or the part where the car gets towed, or the part where your auntie threatens you with village people.
America will show you many smiling people, but it will not show you their bills. It will not show you their tears.
Auntie Chinwe stood up from the table, her presence filling the small kitchen. For a moment, Ebuka thought she might finally unleash the fury he had been anticipating, but instead, she walked over to the pot of stew. She placed a hand on its cold lid, a gesture of both ownership and sorrow.
This stew was meant for our dinner. Now, it is a reminder of the car that is sitting in an impound lot, gathering dust and fees. The car that I need to get to my job tomorrow morning, the job that actually pays the rent for this house where you sleep and eat for free.
The weight of his actions crashed down on Ebuka with the force of a physical blow. It wasn't just about the money he had lost, it was about the chaos he had created. His get-rich-quick scheme had directly impacted his aunt's real, difficult, get-rich-slow life. He had taken her stability and gambled it away on a YouTube fantasy. Ebuka, narrator. Auntie, I will fix it. I will get a job, any job. I will work day and night. I will pay the ticket. I will pay the tow fee. I will do anything. I will wash plates. I will sweep floors. I will even go and join the army if I have to. She turned around and for the first time there was a flicker of the old fire in her eyes.
You will not join any army. The only war you will be fighting is the war against these bills you have created. You think paying for this mistake is a simple thing? The impound lot is a den of thieves. They charge you for the towing, they charge you for every day the car sits there, they charge you for the air the car breathes inside their fence. By the time we get my car back, it will cost more than the car is even worth. You will not touch a car key in this house again. You will not watch those useless YouTube hustlers again. Your new hustle is whatever I tell you it is. Starting tomorrow morning at 5 a.m., your penance begins. You will find a job, a real one, with a pay slip and taxes. And every single dollar you earn will come to me until my car is free, and this foolishness has been paid for in full. Do you understand me, Mr. Economic Empowerment?
Ebuka nodded meekly, accepting his fate. He was no longer an independent contractor. He was now an indentured servant to the bank of Auntie Chinyere. The night was long and sleepless for Ebuka. He lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, the ghost of the police siren still echoing in his ears. The dream of $1,000 day had been replaced by the nightmare of an ever-growing debt. He was grounded, carless, and on a very short leash. The American dream had felt so close, so tangible, shining brightly from his phone screen. Now, it felt like a distant, mocking star. He had flown too close to the sun on wings made of YouTube lies, and he had crashed back down to the hard, unforgiving earth of his auntie's apartment. The next morning, there was no loud prayer. The silence was even more unsettling. Auntie Chinyere had already left for work, having somehow arranged a ride with a colleague. On the kitchen table, where the ticket and toast sticker had been, there was now a newspaper. It was opened to the classifieds section, with one particular ad circled aggressively in red ink. The ad was simple: now hiring warehouse associates, all shifts, no experience necessary, must be able to lift 50 pounds, apply in person. This was it. This was his new path. The universe, or at least his aunt, had provided a new, less glamorous chariot of discovery, the city bus to a warehouse district. He sighed, folding the newspaper and putting it in his pocket. The digital gold rush was over. The era of the gig economy had ended before it even began. His new hustle wouldn't involve cool sunglasses, Afrobeats playlists, or philosophical conversations with passengers named Rain. It would involve heavy boxes, long hours, and a level of physical labor he had actively tried to avoid his entire life. It was humbling. It was daunting. But it was real. It was a clear, unglamorous path to paying the bills and maybe, just maybe, earning back a sliver of his auntie's trust. As he got ready to leave, Ebuka caught his reflection in the mirror. He looked tired, but there was a new resolve in his eyes. The disastrous first chapter of his American story was over. He had been sent, he had hustled, and he had failed spectacularly. But he was still here. He took a deep breath, a small, weary smile playing on his lips. Ebuka, narrator. Okay, Amazon warehouse, let's see what you've got. The American hustle had given him a beating, but Ebuka was not yet beaten. He was just getting started on a different, much harder but perhaps more honest path.